I'm being thieved in a more way that I'm thieving this guy. It seems like if somebody has a lawsuit, it seems like it's me on them. I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
With Ethan then choosing to do really the most Ethan thing ever and saying publicly, I'd like to say publicly that xQc is a content thief, and if you think that is defamation, please sue me, bitch. Destroying morons in court is my favorite hobby. And if you want me to explain why you are a content thief, I'm happy to chat with you anytime. With that leading to yesterday, xQc going on H3 to debate Ethan. And in addition to that clip that I used to open up this story, the two argued for about an hour before Ethan ultimately ended the call.
How long do you want me to sit here and listen to you, watch you crawl around on the ground like a worm? I mean, I have a show to do, dude. Unlike you, I actually fucking organize and put work into my show. I understand for you, you're just burning time. You could sit here for 12 hours. That'd make your life easier. You wouldn't have to go steal videos. But me, I planned this. I have a show. I have a schedule. This is stop being interesting because you're just sitting there saying silly shit and doing the worm. So with that being said, thank you for calling. I feel like it was very illuminating, and I wish you the best, and I hope you have a great stream.
Ethan then going on to Twitter and showing DMs that he had with xQc, with a chunk of that appearing to be xQc flexing his watch and saying, I make more money than you. Something that it feels like he did because he had his feelings hurt because much of the internet felt like he lost the debate. And not by just a little, but in an embarrassing fashion. I mean, even people that hate Ethan Klein were like, yeah, Ethan got him. But again, like that last stuff, that's more the drama aspect of the story, and it doesn't relate to the core thing, which is what I want to ask you a question on. What are your thoughts regarding reaction content? Because while a lot of attention is on the xQc Hassan Piker types because they're massive streamers and they have so much content being clipped all around, this is an argument and debate that we've seen popping up elsewhere. Like with on YouTube, you have a creator by the name of SSSniperwolf, with many, including old school creators like Jax Films, calling her out, saying she's just stealing the content she's getting millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of views on, not crediting the creators, showcasing there that it doesn't appear to be helping out those smaller creators. And again, because fair use is a thing, a lot of the criticism being you're not really doing anything. With a lot of the arguments being, you know, if you're watching a video of a guy dunking a basketball and you say, oh wow, look at that guy dunk a basketball, that's not transformative. But with everything going on, I want to know, what are your thoughts? And then middle schools are already a little bit like prison. If your school was anything like mine, those similarities started in the cafeteria with the food. Though some middle schools are going even further and embracing solitary confinement, which sounds like it should be a joke, but McAuliffe International School, a middle school in Denver, Colorado, reportedly threw students in a so-called seclusion room, also dubbed incarceration rooms by some. Right, room 121E had locks placed on both the doors and the windows so that students with behavioral issues just could be kept inside alone with no way out. And reportedly, numerous staff members knew about this practice and actually helped put kids in the room, sometimes dragging them down the hall, screaming and fighting, with the Denver Public School Board vice president saying,
multiple administrators would stand outside the door and hold it shut as a student would scream and destroy the room and try to get out. They would do this until the students tired themselves out and possibly fall asleep from crying. This could last 30 minutes to an hour or as long as it took.
And when he says destroy the room, he's not kidding. Right, a work order from a school employee for repairs notes that there were multiple holes in the drywall due to student rage and incarceration. Officials also finding the vent was destroyed when they visited, which on top of the locks amounted to a fire hazard. And reportedly, mainly male students who were brown and black or had disabilities were put inside, which is also why you saw the school board secretary giving this really emotional statement at a news conference.
We must face this horrific reality that some of the destructive mechanisms of a system we fought to dismantle still finds its way into our schools.
Now, when 7 whistleblowers filed anonymous complaints about this room, there was some confusion about whether it was one of the de-escalation rooms common across the district. But there shouldn't be confusion there because those are meant to be quiet, open rooms where an employee takes a student who willingly enters and uses techniques to calm them down. And so right now with the situation, we're seeing the community reeling from the shock, the interim principal being put on paid administrative leave, and that after the last principal, Kurt Dennis, was fired for allegedly violating student privacy laws by publicly expressing safety concerns about district employees being required to check students for weapons. But the whistleblowers say this scandal implicates the entire administrative body. And actually, the police are investigating the situation, so we could see some criminal charges come from all this. And that's in addition to possible legislation with a Democratic state lawmaker vowing to introduce a bill banning seclusion rooms next year, with her declaring that students are not caged animals and it will not allow them to be treated as such. And then Barbie fever apparently is going nowhere, because after just 17 days in theaters, it has now crossed $1 billion at the global box office, which I imagine surprised sad boys who made 45-minute videos and then other content about just how much they didn't like the movie. Cry more, Ben. But yeah, Barbie has made $459 million here in North America and another $572 million abroad, which also happens to make Greta Gerwig the first ever solo female director to make $1 billion film. So huge on that front, but also in terms of the general success of the box office. Right, to give you some context here, since COVID, only 5 other films have crossed that mark. And notably, this Barbie news is just one good headline among several. Right, you had Oppenheimer crossing $500 million at the box office, with Universal saying this makes it the highest grossing movie set during World War II, which I know may sound niche, but then you think like how many World World War II movies there are and also how many good ones there are. And actually, with all this success, we're seeing the film extending its run in IMAX 70mm. Though notably, in the United States, it's only going to affect 19 theaters. But the demand for those theaters and those screenings have been incredibly high. But also, notably for Hollywood, those are not the only movies thriving right now. The Meg 2, despite its 27% Rotten Tomatoes score, brought in a global $142 million. It was really driven by a big international audience, so on a global scale, it destroyed the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Though notably, that's gotten great reviews from both critics and fans, and it actually kind of had the opposite of the Meg's numbers, right, doing far better domestically than abroad. Of the $51 million that was made worldwide, $43 million came from North America, and that 5-day haul was better than expected. And then, hola amigos, gracias por estar conmigo hoy. You know, for most of us, learning a second language in school wasn't exactly a high point in our academic careers. Right after 3 years of Spanish, I was still questioning my conjugations. But thanks to the sponsor of today's show, Babbel, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language. Yeah, the best way to learn a language is through immersion, living where the language is spoken natively, using it every day, or just download and use Babbel to start speaking your chosen language in as little as 3 weeks. You know, studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others continue to prove Babbel is better. For instance, one study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. And their tips and tools for learning a new language are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching. With over 10 million subscriptions sold, Babbel is real language learning for real conversations. I mean, their speech recognition technology helped improve my Spanish pronunciation and accent, and I could tell the locals appreciated it as well. So here's a special limited time deal for you beautiful bastards to get you started right now. Get 55% off your Babbel subscription, but only you at babbel.com/DeFranco. I'm serious, that's 55% off at babbel.com/DeFranco, spelled BABBEL.com/DeFranco. Rules and restrictions apply. And then you may have noticed that there's something going on with Hollywood and unions right now. And I'm not even talking about the writer and actor strike. Rather, what we're seeing right now are major unionization efforts in a bunch of different sectors of the industry, starting with VFX, specifically Marvel's VFX workers. They've now filed for a union election aiming to be represented by the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. And these crew workers explaining on their website, VFX is integral to almost every film and television production made today. Now it's our turn to gain the rights and protections almost every other entertainment worker has had for decades. Because as the Hollywood Reporter covered, even though VFX has been a part of film for ages, it's been a mostly non-union career since the late 70s, which is why people in the industry believe it is long overdue that they get unionized. With some staffers saying the working conditions are incredibly harsh and that turnaround times, protected hours, and certain pay standards do not apply to VFX workers. With Matthew D. Loeb, the president of IATSE, saying, "We are witnessing an unprecedented wave of solidarity that's breaking down old barriers in the industry and proving we're all in this fight together. That doesn't happen in a vacuum." So now the National Labor Relations Board has set a date for an election vote. But then in addition to that, we're seeing celebrity stylists across the pond in the UK also wanting to form their own union. With Variety explaining stylists are often hired by studios to dress talent for a red carpet because good styling can actually lead to good marketing. Or you just think to things like how Zendaya, she can shut down a red carpet with a good look and then you see it everywhere on Twitter for 24 hours. Or how parts of the internet can just spend the better part of a week debating an outfit Harry Styles wore. And while the super big names have their own stylists and are not always using what the studios pay, the point still stands for the entire industry. And so we're seeing UK stylists argue they're not getting the money they deserve for creating that attention, claiming that the average fee has hardly changed in the last 7 years and often leaves them earning less than minimum wage. And so the stylists here are hoping to improve their pay by setting up a new branch under BECTU, a British crew and broadcasting union. With Variety noting that they were previously under the live events branch, but they want to create their own, or something more specific to their issues and rights. You also have some reality stars hoping for change, arguing they should also be on strike. I mean, during the last writer strike in 2007 and 2008, reality TV saw a major boom. And with these strikes, history may repeat itself. So you're seeing Real Housewives star Bethany Frankel saying reality TV stars should be on the picket lines as well, and claiming they are also getting the short end of the stick, saying, "I have never made a single residual, so either I'm missing something or we're getting screwed too." And then today is a huge day for Ohio, because Ohio voters are heading to the polls for a special election today where democracy itself is on the line. If this sounds familiar, I actually did a deep dive on this. I'll link to it. But the very surface level TLDR is that basically the special election is being held for people to vote on issue 1, which is a measure that will make it harder to pass constitutional amendments by ballot initiative. And it achieves this in a few ways, but the most significant being that it would raise the number of votes required to approve a constitutional amendment from 50% to a 60% supermajority. Right, or to simplify it, 59% of the voters can want an amendment and a minority can undermine the democratic will of that huge majority. And if that sounds like minority rule to you, it's because it is literally minority rule. Right, this measure is so controversial that it initially faced bipartisan opposition in the GOP-controlled legislature. But then Republican lawmakers changed their minds after it became clear, oh, there's an initiative to enshrine abortion protections that's going to be on the ballot this November. And when you know it, polling showed that more than 50% but less than 60% wanted those protections. And so the GOP moved quickly to make it harder to approve ballot initiatives before the abortion measure could be voted on. And with that, setting up an August special election, despite the fact that Republicans had literally banned August special elections just months before. Because literally one of the arguments that Republicans were arguing was usually you see people do August special elections because not many people actually vote in them and you're trying to jam something through. And so because of all that, today's election is basically quickly become a proxy fight for abortion rights.